Hi, Thriller Movies Recap here. Today I'm going to show you a movie for 2013 titled Penthouse North. Relax and enjoy. Spoilers ahead, watch out. A strange man was waiting outside the bathroom when a woman finished her shower and opened the door. She had to reach for the towel with her hands because she was unable to see with her eyes. He silently observed her from outside as she wrapped the bathroom towel. Despite being blind, she is very acquainted with the house. The man was quietly watching from the sidelines. Sarah went to the kitchen like she often did, not seeing that her husband was laying in a pool of blood.
Sarah's feet were almost touched by the blood as it moved in that direction. She placed her stuff down and returned to her husband's side. Sarah stumbled to the ground in disbelief when she stepped on the blood. A sticky liquid went through her palm as she spun around in a state of panic and felt around on the ground.
When she touched the man's face, which she knew better than anyone else in the world, she yelled. She didn't have time to consider it before hurriedly getting up to leave the area. Sarah was grabbed by a man outside the kitchen when she backed up out of fear. The man calmly made his way to a display rack after being asked what he wanted to do, making noise by shaking a glass of water. Sarah's appearance of panic gave him the idea to play with her.
Sarah hurries to the bedroom out of fear after dropping her book on the floor. She swiftly locked the other door, looking for a PC beneath the bed and activating voice wake-up mode. Still screaming at the door, the man, "Right mailbox, please call the police," Sarah said as she opened the mailbox and prepared to phone the police. Sarah was knocked to the ground as the man burst through the window. The bed rail tied around her hands. He tenderly cleaned Sarah's calf of the blood. Sarah loudly cursed the man, because she knew he was a bad guy. Sarah instantly calms down when the man pulls her by the hair, and she apologizes to him. Sarah assures the man that she would follow his instructions as he pulled out a knife and untied her. The initial part of the plan worked, so Sarah entered the changing room while the man went outside to make a phone call. Sarah puts on some clothes, sneakers, takes the camera off the floor, and tucked it away behind her. She swung violently at the man as he drew near, knocking him to the ground. Sarah hurriedly exited the room, arriving too late to use the elevator and was forced to use the stairway. The man stood up from the ground at that same time. The man pursued her as she descended 3 flights of stairs. Sarah stumbled down the pipe and swiftly moved forward, making it to the first floor of the warehouse by this time. The apartment security guard heard an unfamiliar noise suddenly come from the warehouse. He grabbed a shovel and moved toward the noise. Sarah cries out for assistance after hearing voices. The guard is approaching her from behind. The man suddenly showed up, took the security guard in his arms, and killed him with great cruelty. Sarah hurriedly departed after realizing her expectations had been dashed and followed the barbed wire fence while shouting. She stumbled in front of the apartment complex. Sarah had already made contact with a bystander as the man advanced swiftly. Just as she was shouting for assistance, a man who identified himself as a police officer emerged. When he noticed him, he was forced to flee. She felt her fear subside as the policeman encircled her in his jacket. In Sarah's presence, the bald man pulled out his cell phone and made a backup call to his coworkers. The two of them headed to the apartment's lobby to wait for the police to show up. At that instant, Baldy pushes the elevator button, and the man enters the building through the front door as the elevator door opens. Sarah is bound to the elevator by the man. When Baldy poses as a police officer, allows Sarah to get away. They covered the husband's body when they got back to the apartment. Then they gently inquire about the location of the diamonds with Sarah, but she fails to respond. The men threatened Sarah with violence as they dragged her from the couch onto the ground. The bald head seemed to have found something to look forward to at that very time. He then used a knife to cut the back of the picture after asking the man to take it off the wall. A significant amount of cash was discovered within. The two men wrapped the money before turning around and walking away. Sarah hurriedly stood up and locked the door as she heard the door slam. She believed the house was secure because she was unable to see the bald image in the mirror. Caressing the necklace her husband had given her while seated on the ground, she appeared to comprehend something when it became dark and rushed out of the room and toward the door. A man slammed the door shut as she was just about to open it. She pulled away out of fear, but she soon found herself in another man's arms. Sarah fled to the balcony after eluding the man. Sarah hurried to the building's roof in the direction of the patrol jet as it flew overhead to signal for assistance. However, she was held and kissed by the bald man with a gun who was posing as a couple. She was then made to wave her arms at the airplane. The captain turned around and walked away, believing it to be a couple's orgy. Sarah was bound to a table by the two men, who also taped her limbs and body multiple times. Hold her upper body down while draping a towel over her face. She struggles instinctively in the sinking water after being given a large glass of water in order to be compelled to confess where the diamonds are. She exerts her will in a tone of disdain while attempting valiantly to flee. The two stopped to gaze outside as a bell rang at the door at that same moment. Sarah found hope when she heard her sister's voice. She was compelled by the bald man with a gun to lie to her. Otherwise, she and her sister would be dead. Sarah opened the door while the two were positioned on either side of it, revealing a space. Her sister is perplexed when she notices her untidy hair. She explained that their disagreement made it difficult for them to receive them. According to my brother-in-law, the individual who struck Sarah intended to enter the room to talk. The bald man is waiting to fire a gun. Her pregnant sister's water broke, and she urgently needs to be sent to the hospital. Sarah sobbed and slammed the door after the two of them departs. She needed to delay as long as she could. They would undoubtedly murder her if they had the diamonds. She misled the bald man regarding where the diamonds were hidden in the flower pots on the balcony. To see them, he had to individually destroy hundreds of flower pots. The frozen diamond in the ice was then unintentionally discovered by the man in the kitchen. He felt self-centered as he stared at the balcony where the bald head was and put the ice under the faucet to flush. He then removed all of the ice and submerged it, excitedly anticipating the appearance of the diamonds. Several crystallized diamonds quickly melted and were then placed in a clear bag. When the bald man outside the door saw him skulking, he hid the jewels on his body and came out. After getting into a heated argument, two of them suddenly pulled out guns and began shooting at each other. As the bald man removed the diamond from his partner's pocket, Sarah was astounded. Baldy gleefully laughed as he took up the bag. Sarah suddenly seemed to be coming at him from behind. The diamonds and rifle both hit the ground. He also pushed Sarah to the ground. She instantly got to her feet and moved forward. The wiring experienced a short circuit as the lamp hit the ground. Despite being dark, Sarah made the house her own. Baldy nearly suffered a gunshot wound when he discovered Sarah in the dark. As soon as he made a small sound, Sarah would raise the alarm because she possessed a rifle, diamonds, and both. She struggled to differentiate the sound because of the nearby fireworks explosion. The bald man approached her after she took the diamonds one by one and threw them out. As several diamonds were going to disappear and moved in that direction, he felt more and more worried. Baldy collapsed to the 15th floor as Sarah abruptly released an immense amount of strength and turned him over behind him. After a day of combat, Sarah may now recover. But then her anguish over her husband's passing set in. She opened the refrigerator, filled it with water, and added the many leftover diamonds. For the rest of her life, she would have to rely on these ice cube diamonds.
Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.